This is an AQA GCSE chemistry question from the Trilogy 2019 paper. It's a foundation tier question and it includes chemical changes, exo and endothermic reactions. I'm going to put the question up first for you to have a go at and then we can review. So we'll start with part A, part B, part C, parts D and E, and finally part F. 7 marks in total on this question. So let's take a look at the first part A. We've got reversible reactions. When blue hydrated copper sulfate is heated, we get white anhydrous copper sulfate and water produced, and we've got the equation provided. How does the equation show it's a reversible reaction? This is where you need to write out the symbol for reversible reactions as already provided. Part B, we're provided with a method. Place an empty tube on a balance, zero the balance, add 1.26 grams of hydrated copper sulfate, heat the test tube and contents for 5 minutes, measure the mass of the solid left, and repeat steps 4 and 5 until the mass of solid is constant. So we need to determine the figures for X and Y. Well, let's take a look at what we know. 0.81 grams is the mass at the end of the experiment. That's the anhydrous copper sulfate. We also know that we started with 1.26 grams in the test tube. We ended up with 0.81, which means that the 0.45 grams that have gone must be the water that has been lost to the atmosphere. So Y is 0.45 grams. Why did the student keep heating the test tube and contents until the mass was constant? So what they were doing was heating to dryness. You heat and then you measure, and you heat and you measure, and when you get to a point where the mass stops going down, you know you've heated it to dryness, you know that all of the water has been removed. On to part D, we have got student investigating the reverse reaction, adding water to anhydrous copper sulfate. This is an exothermic reaction. So what is an exothermic reaction? Straightforward definition. This is a reaction that gives out energy to the surroundings. And what's the reading on the thermometer? So you just need to read the scale very, very carefully. You can see here it's between 10 and 20. If you actually look carefully, it's at 18 degrees C. Student measured the temperature during the reaction. The water is added to the anhydrous copper sulfate, the temperature. Well, we know it's an exothermic reaction. We know an exothermic reaction releases heat energy to the surroundings, so the temperature that we measure will increase. That takes us to the end of the question, and we're done.